Piece is called making a webcam and making it look cool. Now I know cool is relative, but I'll try and explain where I'm going with this. This is kind of a layout for esports or streamers who want to maybe make their webcam on the screen pop out compared to other places, instead of it just being a static like box. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to add a camera. So I'm just going to call it cam. And I'm going to go into the video capture device and I'm going to create another one called Brio, and I'm going to select my Brio camera, and there it is. It's connected in. While I'm doing that, I'm just going to take this out of here. I'm going to put this into another charging spot. Right, let me pull that out and I'm going to lock that in. Now, I kind of don't want it that big actually, so let me unlock that. I want to put it into the bottom corner. So I kind of want my webcam to be, I don't know, down here somewhere. Now, the way I go about making a webcam stay out is I make a animated background layer in Keynote, believe it or not. So I have one of these I made a little animation, which is just like a graphic that has the background removed from it. And it's got a little bit of animation. You can see at the bottom it runs for about 30 seconds and then it repeats. And if I speed up through it, you can see that certain parts of it are animated. They kind of move in and out or across or left or right, and they're all like different speeds. And I made that in Keynote, believe it or not. So free piece of software to make little graphics. Now, don't rate me on the quality of that, because obviously there's better stuff out there. But what I did is I exported it from Keynote as a movie with a green background on it so that I can genlock that out into the software. Well, I actually went one step ahead of that and actually brought it in as a WebM file. So I also optimize it for file size as well. So I'm not using lots of memory inside of OBS. I get into MP4 to WebM later on in the course, but it's basically a way of converting it from one file format to another, and the file size is a lot smaller and the quality is pretty much the same. So right, what I've got now is I've got that media file, my little animation file, and I can scale it up and down in here as much as I want. What I want to do first of all is I want to remove the background of that layer by going into the filters, the effect filters, and add a chroma key. And then what you'll see happen is it will just remove the green in the background. You also notice that on some of the lines, it's kind of losing some of the colors. So you have to like play around with that a little bit. And then click on close, and we have this kind of layer. Now, I might need to do a bit more work of tinkering around with it, because you can see like the green outside layer on it. To really show this, let me create a color source and let's just call it, I don't know, let's do pink. But I'm going to select, let's do this kind of color, right? It's not a pink, but it's more like it's kind of a color of the year. And let's bring that down to the very bottom. And then I also want to, what happened to I've lost my, where did it go? Oh, okay, I know what happened. Here's the thing as well, it's like, oh, what happened to the video file? Well, you need to make sure it's tipped on the loop, and also I want to restart it when a source comes active. So if I click on OK, it'll come back again, because what's happening is it's running through the 30 seconds and then finishing at the end and then being removed from the stage. So always make that sure that this is looping, otherwise you won't see it again. All right, so let me move this one, which is at the very bottom of the sources, at the background, and I'm going to scale this out all the way out. Doesn't matter that it's off the stage. I mean, you could play around with it. I'm going to play around with it just for neatness. Let me just like pull the top bit. The way I'm doing that is clicking on the Alt key and then grabbing one of the points. Just going to do that so it fits in. Let's bring this up a little bit and do that down like that. I'm going to lock that layer so I can't touch it anymore. So you can see the assets basically. Now you notice that my Brio is underneath, so we need to move that up by clicking on the up arrow. So these are arranged like layers, if you like one behind each other. All right, so this webcam view is too big right now, so I need to bring that down to be able to fit inside of my like animated background, right? So I need to get this inside of here to look like it's actually part of the same thing, right? So that's inside like that. Now you see it jump there. That's probably a bug inside of my file. So if we go back to this file, you'll probably see that it might jump inside the webm. So I need to make sure whenever I loop something that I fix those things. So I also want to get rid of the background, the green screen background on here. So I'm going to go into right click, filters, add a green screen, chroma key, which gets rid of the green. And then that's got rid of that, you see? So it looks like it's all in the same unit. Now, everything is under this cam now, so I can effectively move this scene, use this scene in another scene if I want to. So the way I would do that is maybe turn all these off. Actually, which way do I want to do this? There's a number of ways to do this. You can move this as a block on another scene. So if we create another scene, let's call it main shot. Now what I can do is I can actually click on here and say, okay, I want to use the whole scene of cam as my source. This enables me to use the whole lot, but you see the problem I've got then is I've got the background, right? So I can go into cam and I can get rid of this pink, just remove it, and so I'm left with that camera structure, which means that when I go to cam shot I can just move the whole lot together, which makes it easier for placement. So I might want to put the placement down here. And then I can actually then just go to color source and add in a color source like before if I want to. I'm just going to use this one again. Click on OK and do that out, shrink it down, and there you go. I've got it like in the corner with a background. And if I want to, I can move the image around. You might want to be a bit neater as well with this. You don't normally need to grab the whole scene. But that is one way of doing it, by combining all the elements together so that you can move everything in one block. I talk about sources as scenes in another part of a course. You should definitely go and have a look at that because that will enhance it. But you can see now I've got this cam source, which is just the Brio and the webcam, is actually in this main shot now. So the cam is being pulled in as a scene. So the source is the scene. And then I've got a color source for the background. So now I can just place that anywhere. This component now, made up of my webcam genlocked and the movie file genlocked, can be used anywhere. And I can shrink that down because it's both components together. So if I want to, I can have that really big. I could put a chat on the right hand side. But this, more than anything, shows you how you can reuse components, right? So you can build out the elements that you want and then just make changes to that particular thing. So maybe I want to turn off the background, maybe I want to turn off that filter. So if I go to the filters and just remove this chroma key, then when I go to main shot, you'll notice that it's updated. That's because any updates I do in the scene cam are reflected in the main shot because I'm bringing in the source as cam. So it's just a really nice way of combining elements together, and I think I've made a pretty cool little webcam shot there. You'll notice that little flickering. That's my problem. I in the video file, when I'm doing the looping, I'm obviously looping a space where it's blank, so you have to make sure that's perfect. And you can see everything is subtly moving in the shot as well, which is, when you're doing a live stream, it's pretty cool to have these just little parts that are moving and doing little bits of animation. Hopefully that shows you how to integrate and make a cool little webcam. I will do a part in Keynote of how I built the little animated thing if people request it, or I might just add it as a asset file onto this lecture so that you can download it and mash it up and play with it inside of Keynote. Keynote is free, so it's an easy way of making little animated parts for your live streams or local recordings.